This is LXBN TV, and I'm Colin O'Keefe. My guest today is Atlanta lawyer Ken Shigley, author of the Atlanta Injury Law Blog. Ken just concluded his term as president of the State Bar of Georgia, so I thought we'd have him on and ask him about his experience in that role. So Ken, how did you become State Bar president, and what are your thoughts on the work that went into becoming and then being the president of the State Bar of Georgia?
Well, I was not one of those people that everybody predicts 20 years in advance will be State Bar president. I had been a prosecutor, I had been a small-town lawyer, I'd been an insurance defense lawyer in Atlanta with a firm for about a decade, and then I was a sole practitioner for a long time. And at some point I got on the Board of Governors. We have a 160-member Board of Governors, so it's a mob scene. And after about a decade, when my last child graduated from high school, I said, I'm bored, up or out. So I ran for the executive committee at our annual meeting. The person who nominated me played it straight except for the Shigley rhymes with Piggly Wiggly slide on the screen with a picture of me next to the Piggly Wiggly supermarket logo. People laughed. Somehow the top three got elected, and I went on the executive committee. Thought I'd never take it any further, but the mop flopped in my direction very quickly, and so I went up the ladder in rapid succession, deservedly or not. It was a great experience. I'm glad I did it, and glad to be done.
I'm sure. I mean, after reading about the 100-hour work weeks, I'm sure it's nice to be done now. You know,
yeah, it's nice to get a life back and be able to actually sleep and exercise now. Definitely. So what in particular stand out as memorable and important, experiences and accomplishments? What do you think, you really did there? What's the most memorable? Well, when somebody as unlikely as I gets that opportunity, you feel like, well, maybe there's a reason I'm supposed to, so go ahead and do it. I started out with some things in mind, some of which we got done. I wanted to emphasize the idea of lawyers seeing their profession as a calling and not just a job, though we can certainly make a good living if we're lucky and skillful both. Tried to promote the idea in articles and speeches of lawyers trying to pursue lives of personal and professional virtue. One thing I wanted to move forward is the idea of an electronic court filing system at the state level as we have at the federal level, modernizing, putting in the plain English jury instructions, and a number of other things. We made some progress on those. The great statue of Chief Justice John Marshall in the entry hall of the U.S. Supreme Court was the product of a bar project. The Philadelphia Bar Association in 1835 passed a resolution to have that statue commissioned. It took them 48 years to get it done. These things, bar projects tend to be a marathon relay if they're of any real substance and require other people's cooperation. One thing that I had not planned on, our governor and Chief Justice and legislative leaders got together on creating a Criminal Justice Reform Council. We have about 1 out of 70 Georgians behind bars. We spend over $1 billion a year on just prison beds. So there was a lot of sentiment that we should put more emphasis on accountability courts, community-based corrections, and so forth, in order to make sure we got plenty of prison beds for the people we really need to be afraid of and deal with other people that we're just mad at in other ways. So the governor put me on the Criminal Justice Reform Council as State Bar President, and I'm continuing on that as past President. That took up a lot of time and energy. A lot of time went into trying to find the right balance on funding the indigent defense system, both in getting the funds up and trying to control costs. That took a lot of time. We didn't get quite as far on electronic court filing as I wanted to, but we made progress, and I think it's an immovable irresistible force now. It's going to happen, just not on my watch. So it was a great experience. Learned, in graphic detail just how large the state of Georgia is when you go to speak at lunch in Waycross, and it's 5 hours to get there.
Yeah, definitely. And finally, you have a unique perspective on the practice of law. I think one that few people rarely get to see. So having that perspective, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges and the biggest opportunities in the legal industry right now?
There's a lot of them. Of course, the challenges start with legal education itself. Law schools are generating a lot more graduates than there are jobs for them. And the way law schools are run, they're academic, are governed by academics who don't have a lot of experience actually practicing law. One law school dean told me, only half in jest, that it was almost a drawback for faculty applicants that they had ever really practiced law. They're academics. So unlike medical schools that teach doctors how to be doctors, law schools don't really teach lawyers how to be lawyers. So that's a problem. You have an oversupply. Universities treating law schools as cash cows. And then people coming out owing tremendous amounts of money that they just don't have jobs available to pay that off. I've seen one estimate of something like 200,000 surplus lawyers being generated by law schools over the next decade. And then on the demand side, you have a lot of things in almost a perfect storm. You've got law schools in India and China turning out people trained in American law who are willing to work pretty cheap to provide back office support legal services for corporations and large firms. You've got large firms hiring young lawyers not on the partnership or career track, but to work off-site perhaps, just dealing with discovery and never really getting the mentoring and learning how to be a lawyer. You've got the do-it-yourself and pro se movement. People saying, why should I pay a lawyer to do this? I'll just get a form out of the internet and do it myself. That is a huge downward pressure on a lot of things that has been meat and potatoes for a lot of lawyers for generations. You've got the witness-only closings efforts from lenders, where they'll just hire some young lawyer to go out with, to do 10 closings a night, without the consumer protection and without the lawyer really learning to be a lawyer. You could go on and on. I would refer you to Tom Morgan's book, The Vanishing American Lawyer, and I can't remember the guy's name, but the Brett who wrote the book, The End of Lawyers. There's a lot going on that's huge pressure. But if people learn how to creatively surf that wave of change, there are ways to do well. I think back to '96 when I launched the first lawyer website in Georgia. And then I think it was in '03 I launched the first or second lawyer blog through your dad at LexBlog. There are all sorts of things going on that if you're creative and keep improving your skill set, you can succeed.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of challenges. It's just a very interesting time to be a lawyer. Once again, that was Ken Shigley of the Atlanta Injury Law Blog. For more on his experience as Georgia State Bar President, he has several posts up on this, all of which are excellent. Be sure to check out his publication. It's at atlantainjurylawblog.com. And for more LXBN TV interviews, be sure to visit us at lxbn.lexblog.com.
Thanks, Colin.
Thanks.